Today on the Daniel Baldwin Show, viewer mail and why is the news always so negative? Coming at you right now. Hey everybody, welcome to the Daniel Baldwin Show, and let's get right to it with viewer mail. This is Mary McLaughlin of Honesdale, Pennsylvania. Says, hey DB, love the show. Thank you very much. Thank you for watching. Tell me, what is going on with the New Jersey governor? ... Okay. Well, this is Governor Sherrill. So let me read you this headline. New Jersey Governor Sherrill signs law barring ICE agents from wearing face coverings to shield identities. So, excuse me. Let's put that in perspective, shall we? The governor of the state of New Jersey has deemed it necessary to bar agents from wearing masks. Well, that would obviously ask the question, it begs the question, why do they wear the mask, which I will read in a second. But the law, which requires officers to present identification before detaining someone, comes as some federal agents have sought to hide their identities during immigration raids in communities across the country. Sherrill, who was sworn into office in January, said the mask restriction is part of an effort to ensure the safety of residents of the Garden State. Okay, let's break that down. So how ironic that this governor would decide that because of safety reasons. Now remember, before that, she says she wants to make it, they have to have the mask off and you have to present some ID. Isn't that the badge that they're wearing? When a cop pulls you over, does he hand you a card and say, by the way, I'm really a cop? Or does he get out of a car and he has the uniform on and he's got a gun in his hand? I mean, this is a federal agent. FBI agents wear jackets that say FBI. ATF with a badge. You're gonna walk up to someone who is a convicted criminal or a suspected criminal, and you're going to present them with identification to let them know that you're actually an agent. Jesus. So again, I believe this is a politically driven, this is the governor of New Jersey. She has decided that she's going to jump on the bandwagon about this whole problem with ICE, which, if you look at it, under Clinton, under Bush, under Obama, under Biden, these guys, CNN rolled around with these guys, calling them heroes, and they killed 58 people, I believe. I think ICE is now highly publicized with Trump. The two in Minnesota has killed, sadly, 2 people died. I don't think anybody wants that. But for the governor to pass this, and you're worried about the safety of New Jersey residents. Listen, here's a little note for you, New Jersey residents. My wife's from New Jersey, love New Jersey, grew up on Long Island. I'm a New Yorker, they were our neighbors. We cohabitate really well. If you see someone get out of a car, even unmarked, and they have high-powered rifles in their hands, or their guns are drawn, and they're wearing uniforms and vests that say ICE with helmets on and blah, blah, and just get out of the way. Get out of the way. Don't try to run up and film them. Don't try to challenge them. They're doing their job. Get out of the way. And I promise you, residents of New Jersey, you won't have a problem. If the cops showed up, guns drawn, and with marked cars, and they came out with vests on, SWAT, whatever, you wouldn't get in the way. You didn't get in the way under Clinton. You didn't get in the way under Bush. You didn't get in the way under Obama, a ridiculous number of implications of ICE. Get out of the way. These are people that our tax dollars are going to pay to do their job. This president is not doing anything different than Barack Obama did. Nothing different. He's getting people out. He ran under, I can show you speech after speech, And if you're here illegally, you're going to be removed, and you're going to be put on the back of the line, and you're going to learn how to speak English, and you're going to, all this crap. God bless them. It's one of the reasons why I backed Obama. I wanted this to happen. I want to limit the number of people that can just come in the country. They're going to eat off of our plate of the tax dollars that we're paying, and so on. So, no. I don't know what, except for a political agenda, that the governor of New Jersey could be doing, because now I'm going to read to you the most important part. I want to remove all the vests that stop bullets from hitting officers. I'm going to pass a law that says that in New Jersey. Well, why would you do that? You'd be putting the officers at danger because bad people are shooting bullets at them, sometimes high-powered bullets, that could take their lives. So why would you ever do that? Why would you take the masks off? Because here, Immigration and Customs Enforcement, ICE, agents wear masks primarily to prevent doxing. Let's just break it down into, I'm not even going to read from the paper anymore. Let's just break it down. It's not a popular thing because the Democratic Party has decided to isolate these federal agents and to crucify them in the press. They really have. So much so that they hide their faces because they don't want their kids, they don't want to be identified so that their kids, their wives, or even they are outed on the internet. And that's happening. That was happening. People are taking pictures, they do facial identification, they figure out who the person is. Someone says, I know that guy, his kid goes to school with my kid or whatever. And next thing you know, they have the address of the guy. When you're sending people to jail or sending them back to where they belong, it's not the most popular thing. There are protections and stuff that are done for police officers. But remember, they're patrolling, they're protected by other officers in their departments and stuff. It's just a really bad idea that she did this, really bad. I'm sure it'll be challenged. But what does the message say? We're gonna protect our citizens. Protect them from what? What are you protecting them from? The only people that have suffered in any way are the people that tried to block or interfere or get involved in protesting what ICE is doing. Where were the protests under Clinton? Where were the protests under Bush? Or where were the protests under Obama? I mean, he ran hard. Clinton ran under immigration. We're going to be strict. You're going to get out of our country. You're going to learn to speak English. You're going to be, sent to the back of the line. And you're going to come in this country the way the immigrants throughout history of this country have come in. And all this great hoopla because it was a hot ticket for the American voter. We wanted to know that we were safe, particularly in big states like that are affected by this. Texas, New Mexico, Arizona, California. Those are the states that are bordering Mexico. So then someone turned around and said, well, why didn't we build a wall? Some senator, idiot, a total freaking idiot. Well, why haven't we, she seemed it necessary to build a wall between the United States and Canada. Well, there isn't a mass exodus, although there are Canadians that come over, because I'm an actor and I've seen a lot of actors come over this country and overstay their visas and stuff because they're trying to make it, and this is the place you want to make it in film. We, as Americans, make films in Canada, but they're American films. The Canadians don't make anywhere near as many films as we do, but they made the taxes so comfortable and nice that American filmmakers have been going up to Canada now for a long, long time. But the Americans that go up there, the Americans that go up there and make the films and then come home. The Canadians come down to LA, New York, Chicago, different places because this is where it's hot to live. This is where it's best if you want to try to make a big name for yourself. So, but besides that, in my industry, there isn't a swarm of people leaving Canada to come live in the United States. So it was one of the stupidest things I ever heard of this senator. I wish I had written his name down because he's a complete idiot. To say, why haven't we built a wall? Now, should there be some famine that causes, a large number of people to want to come down. We would, I'm sure, increase the number of guards, and if it became a problem, it's not a massive problem, the number of Canadians, as opposed to the number of Mexicans and Spanish people of Latin descent that are crossing from their Central American countries into Mexico and making the journey up to the Rio Grande and crossing with kids. It's dangerous for them to do this. And of course, under Biden, millions, 20 plus million people have come in, and they've just hindered financially some of these small towns and smaller cities. It's all documented, it's all there. So for Governor Sherrill to pass this law and put these agents at risk, put their lives and their families at risk, when she claims that the reason why she's doing it is to protect New Jersey residents, is absolute the biggest can of bullshit that she could have possibly served. But this is what the Democrats want to hear. This is the stuff they're feeding us to be oppositional to the president and the administration. So she's probably just doing her party job. You should note that at the next election. She just got elected. Note that for her next election. She doesn't believe in protecting federal agents that work to make it safer for you in New Jersey to live. Remember, when ICE goes out, and I know I'm going long on the viewer mail, so I want to acknowledge something. When ICE goes out, they have advanced targets. It's like the federal marshals or any of the shows you watch where they're going to get somebody. It's like Dog the Bounty Hunter. If you want to break it down to something more simple. There is a guy who skipped his bail and there's money involved. There is a criminal who's done something terrible and they target those guys first. Those are who they're usually going for when they show up and they will jump out of vans. And so anybody that's in the country, if they've been here for a long time, they know they're in the country illegally. They know that they didn't thought they live in somewhere in Newark and they've been here for 5 years. Oh, but they have ties to the school now. And what about their kids? And he's a good employee. He should have surrendered himself. He should have asked for any kind of special dispensation that he could get. He should have pled his case and he should have filled out the necessary documentation because he's here illegally and he and his family know they're here illegally. If you go into a store and you reach for an item and you stick it in your jacket, you're stealing it. It doesn't matter the value, you're stealing it. And you realize there might be cameras, there might be employees that are undercover, there might be. And if you walk out that door without paying for it, you might have a problem because you stole something. You make a choice. These people have made a choice to come to this country illegally. They fully are aware, even if they don't speak English, what they're doing and that there's a risk involved. Now, the targeting of ICE coming in hot with, or what they call heavy, with artillery, kind of stuff. They're coming in because the guy that they're looking for, the girl, is a rapist, a killer, a drug dealer. Somebody that's pretty bad. That's why they're targeting that guy. So they got 3 or 4 targets while there's a bunch of idiots running around that are paid to demonstrate, paid to protest, paid to get in the way, paid to 2 or 3 groups, and they have the cameras so they can feed this vernacular to you that these aggressive, terrifying. But now, do I want to acknowledge, has there ever been the misuse, I believe, of power with ICE agents? Have they, I saw one thing, they threw some pregnant woman to the ground. Could they have done that and been more careful? Did they know she was pregnant? But I don't know all the details, but it looks bad for them. Does that exist? Yes, it exists in the FBI, it exists in the state police, it exists. Sometimes they do so. Look at Rodney King. Remember that scandal? And I saw Rodney, who was absolutely under the influence. Did they go overboard and beat him unnecessarily? You betcha they did. Look at Floyd in Minnesota, leaning down with your knee on his neck. He was obviously detained and harmless. That was a bad choice. That was unnecessary, and that was abusive, and that was illegal, and that should have been prosecuted, and so on and so forth. So does it exist? Yes, it does. But it exists everywhere, in every department. And are we talking about less than 1% of the department that doesn't do it pretty much by the book and isn't excessive? Yeah. And would you like to be, listen, Governor Sherrill, here's a message for you. Why don't you pop on a uniform? Let's go get a couple of rapists and murderers together for you to go out with ICE, go through the planning in the morning, the photo identification, go through the briefing that tells you where you think they are, and go through perhaps 4 or 5 of the people that have since gotten over the border of New Jersey and killed residents of your state. You claim that you want to take the mask off so you can protect the residents of New Jersey. What the hell do you think ICE is doing in New Jersey, lady? You have an obligation to the person that's a single mom that's walking to her car in the Walmart parking lot and gets taken in by knife points to her throat, raped, and then her throat slit. That those children will never see their mother again. That's what ICE is trying to prevent. Violent criminals that are in this country illegally. But you think that taking the mask off the agent is going to help? What happened to you, lady? What happened to you? What happened to your moral compass? What happened to your common sense? Are you so party affected and you hate this president and the administration so much that you would make such a false claim and put those people in harm's way? So you have now put all those federal agents who are out there fighting to keep the people in New Jersey safe and fighting to take these illegals out of the country. You've put them in harm's way. So wait for the first one that gets killed. Wait for the first one that's at a ball game with their kid and someone recognizes them and stabs someone or does something terrible. And that blood is going to be on your hands. You will be responsible if that happens in the state of New Jersey. If they can trace it back to someone in their family that was taken or detained by ICE and they didn't have a mask on to do it, you are going to be at fault for that. I hope you're proud of yourself. I really do. So let's get into the subject of the show. Why is the news always so negative? And I had this talk with my wife about it. I was saying to her, well, I think I know why, because it sells. I really do, I think. But it was deeper than that. Let me read this to you. Why does negative news always make the headlines? Negative news dominates headlines primarily due to negative bias, an evolutionary survival mechanism where human brains prioritize threat detection over positive information media outlets exploit this by highlighting bad news, which garners higher engagement clicks and revenue. This is reinforced by a fear factor where negative information triggers stronger psychological response and keeps audiences at a constant state of attention. So here's what's interesting about that. There's a predisposition to it. They're looking for the things because psychologically we are so trained and they know the level of engagement. So when it goes by, if you just did the station about today in Austin, a man with the tornado hit in Alabama, 2 men died in a plane crash. So that, it doesn't matter what state, it doesn't matter where. They're looking for those stories that's going to trigger that response from you to engage and watch their channel. This is absolutely premeditated. This is the game that's being played. So, I see some stuff. There's a kid, and I don't recall his name, but he does these great stories. He does positive, uplifting stories. He does, 2 African-American kids from Delaware. I'm making this up, but generally the story is true. And they heard the screams from the house, or no, it was a car that went off with the mother in it and 2 kids. And these boys were like 17. And they dove in the water, went under, got the window, got the kids and the mother out and saved them. And they're absolutely heroes. They were white kids. This bridged all those gaps that they like to try to put separation between us. Hate between black and white, distrust between black and white, or brown, or this or that. This was just this didn't make the news. It was barely in the news. Didn't make the national news. And these boys should have gotten credit and should have been celebrated. They really should have. So that didn't sell. I saw it on the internet and I was taken aback. And I started following the guy who put the story up, and he puts up these amazing stories. And he's African American, and he puts up stories of, great achievement by African American youth, a story of philanthropy between, there was an older white man who put up this program when they tore down the basketball facility, and he built, the guy had a lot of dough, and he built this big, like, 4 full court baskets, and did the pavement. It wasn't, some Elon Musk $25 trillion. It was 200 grand, but he enjoyed going to the park and watching the kids play because they were such good athletes. And he built this thing, and they were friends with him, and they appreciated him, and they liked him, and they would come over and thank him, and it's just feel good stuff. That doesn't make the news anymore. When I was a kid, it was still sensationalism, but there was more feel good stuff. It's barely, you don't see it, and there's so much political rhetoric now. The theory, and I've gone over this before, Obama said it. I don't know if we'll find the clip or not, but if we do, he said, if you just throw enough mud out there and you get enough people to say scandalous stuff, even if it's not true, just make it up. And you get it out there, and it sticks. And after a while, that ball, that little snowball, that little flake of dissension, that little flake of doubt starts rolling downhill. And what happens with a snowball? It gets bigger and bigger, and more people. And they show interviews at these demonstrations, and it's young kids. It bothers the hell out of me. They'll say white, black, Asian, doesn't matter, Latino. Why are you here? What is it you oppose from the Hakeem Jeffries, or what do you oppose about this? The no kings, or what do you? And you ask these poor kids, and they really don't have a clue even why they're there. I just know he's bad. Listen to what they say about him. He, kills people. And it's the news. It's the news and the internet. It is. It's the message, which is why there's a constant bombardment of negativity about the president. And I really believe that you're not going to really change anything. No one's going to impeach Donald Trump. Donald Trump is not he's going to serve the 4 years. But they're already working on the J.D. Vance versus Kamala, kind of thing. They're working on 2028. They're working on the midterms. It's all about keeping your team in control. And so there's a lot of political agenda stuff that are on different networks, depending. Obviously, CNN and MSNBC have a deep affiliation and alliance with the Democratic Party, and Fox News has a long-running traditional attachment with the Republican Party. Okay, so I know what I'm watching. When I do this show, I look at news that's going on in CNN. Many of my things are CNN, and many of my things are Fox. I look at those two as my primary two go-tos. They're the big national outlets that cover both sides because I want to hear what they're saying on both sides. I love hearing the difference between what they're saying, or I love hearing their take on something. It won't matter what happens in Iran. It won't matter what happens at all. What's going to make attention is that a bomb blew off, and the bomb blew off near a school or hit a school, God forbid. You're not going to look at the satellite signature that traced these 3 people back and forth because they're following them. They're putting together this intelligence and saying, this must be the headquarters. This is how sick the people are. They're putting the headquarters next to a school because they think you won't bomb it. I mean, it really does go that deep. So how sad a world that we live in, that good stories don't make the news really hardly at all anymore. I mean, that's so freaking pathetic. It really is. That angers me. That angers me that I can't hear the story about the guy who got hurt at the war and they're helping him and he's, getting a new leg and he's working at this company that, takes the time to hire these guys and spends a little extra money training them as a thank you for the sacrifice that they made for this country. It's just so rare. I'm going down to Mar-a-Lago in a couple of weeks with my wife and my sister Jane and my brother-in-law Randy. And Randy and I are going to play in a golf tournament that benefits these guys and girls, that have served this great country, and I owe that. I've played military guys probably 20 times, 25 times in movies in my career. I've done a lot of those movies. Earlier on when I was younger and could do all those things. Now I'm the general. I used to be the colonel. I want them boys in a body bag by 0800, that guy. Now I'm the general. I'm not even on the field anymore. I'm in Washington. I'm playing the president and recently in a TV series. And I'm getting older. But I haven't forgotten when they would bring a tech on set. When I did a documentary series called Warfighters, I got to meet with Colin Powell and I got to meet with some of these guys, highly decorated, very honorable men and women that served our country. And so I feel I've had an opportunity to advance myself in my career. I have an opportunity to live in a nation that's safe due to the hard work and sacrifice that these men and women have made. I can't take a couple of days to go down and hit a golf ball in the sun, that we raise hundreds and thousands of millions of dollars to help these boys and girls when they come home. The hell I can't. I do it a couple times a year. I make sure I make myself available and I go out there and I say thank you. And I shake and look in the eye each one of the people that are there and I tell them, thank you for your service. God bless you. Thank you for your service. And I listen to the different things. I learn things from them. But yeah, you could never pay enough to somebody who does that. Police, ICE, these people are putting their life on the line. How many of you walk out the door? I don't. The only time my life will be on the line is because I'm doing some kind of a stunt in a movie that's really dangerous. And I don't really do those that much anymore. I'm 65 years old. So some stunt guy does that. And he could put himself in some peril jumping off a building or doing whatever. But I don't do that anymore. These people put their life on the line every day. Every day. I'll never forget this statement. When you leave, it was at the Dan Marino golf tournament, and let me think of who was there. Marino and Troy Aikman and Jim Kelly McMahon from Chicago. Good guy, really good guy. And Tom Sneeva, the race car driver, walked in. And someone said, hey, Tom, how did you shoot? He goes, I was terrible. I shot 84. And one of the quarterbacks yelled at, I don't remember which one. Well, don't worry about it, Tom. It's not like you're really an athlete or anything. And Sneeva stopped dead in his tracks. And he turned around and he said, let me ask you something. When you go to practice, do you kiss your wife and your kids that morning goodbye, knowing that you may not come home alive? You may never come home again. Just in practice, when you blow your knee out or you hurt your shoulder or you get a concussion protocol. And he said it really like condescending. He said, when I go and I'm driving 200 plus miles an hour in a race car and I know if I make one single mistake, that interception you threw a practice, I make one mistake and I hit the wall and I'm dead. Think about that for a minute when you criticize race car drivers and say they're not athletes. And he walked away and I thought, wow. One mistake. Fumbled the ball, fumbled the snap, missed the read, threw it too far, incomplete. Even a single small mistake. And a race car driver at practice could die. There's a high probability if he loses control of the vehicle, he's going to be seriously injured, or dead. Single mistake. That sat with me for months thinking about that. Thinking about my experience racing cars. At that level, I've never raced, in an Indy 500 kind of thing. But I've been behind the wheel of very fast, open wheel, NASCAR, a few different kinds of vehicles. Now I applied that to any job. Think about it. When a fireman kisses his wife goodbye, okay, honey, I got a 2-day shift. I'll see you on Friday. Every time that alarm goes off, that guy knows he's entering a building that the floor could collapse. That he could be burned to death, that he could choke to death, that he could you don't really think about that when you work on Wall Street or you work, as a school teacher or work at many other different jobs. Very few of them do you actually risk your life daily, knowing you're going in risking your life. A police officer is wearing a uniform and a marked vehicle most of the time. So when they're coming, and there's people that don't want to, their business does not work and coincide with the police force. So they know they could be killed. They could actually be killed. Why would you ever make that a higher probability? Why wouldn't we always work towards making that not happen and making it safe? So again, I revert back to the governor of New Jersey. Shame on you, lady. Shame on you. You're not keeping anybody safe. You may be able to hide behind this pitch to people that you're keeping people safe. What you need to do is prosecute any ICE agent like you would any other law enforcement. If they do something else, strip them of their job, of their benefits. If they do something blatantly wrong or illegal, make them stand up like any other citizen. If they beat somebody, if they shoot somebody illegally, whatever it is, prosecute them, absolutely. But you will find that out of 1,000, 999 of them play it straight and do their job and protect us. And it's a tough job, and they're not paid enough money to do it. So I would love to, God, maybe that's it. Maybe there's an idea in that. Maybe what we should do is we should find a segment of this show where we highlight, maybe, we do 2 shows a week, maybe the later show each week, the Thursday show, we should pick a story out. I think I'm actually going to do it for next week. We're going to pick a story out, and we're going to tell you the story of the guy or the girl, or whatever it was, or the kid in school. Something that's really good, something that's refreshing, something that's not always, as I do a lot of political stuff, because I'm so sick of the direction this country is going in and what's happening there. So let's see if we can't do that. Let's see if we can't do it. So that's the story from me today. I am going to go take my beautiful wife out to lunch with my son and hang out with her for the rest of the day. I'm not doing anything else. Maybe moving some stuff around down here in the house and clean it up. She'll give me some honey-do list for sure. But what's great about my wife and I is that we do a lot of these things together. And so if we can get my son to take a nap, we can do the most mundane thing, and it doesn't matter because we just enjoy so much not being interrupted and just being together. I was recently, I'm gonna conclude with our prayer. But we were talking about, we went out with another couple. And we never do that. So we went out with this other couple and we had this really nice time. It was a friend of my wife's, a colleague and friend, and her husband. And so when we got done, we both kind of looked at each other and went, that was really fun. And I don't mean to make it like we're snotty or anything. We're not. We're just really personal, and we just love being with each other so much that going out with other people usually, or spending that kind of time with other people usually, is either boring or it detracts from the stuff we talk about. So if we do the goofy things that we do together and fun things and planning things and the parts of our journey that we communicate with each other that are important. So we're on this path right now where we thought, well, should we be more open? Where would we meet other couples that we might be interested in engaging with? Because this was really quite fun. So we already put out to them, the couple we went out with, hey, we got to do this again. This was great. And then I started thinking about the places, that we go. We just don't go to a lot of places where we're going to meet anyone. School, when our son starts school, I think we'll probably see some people that have children, and we have that in common. That'll be good. Church, going to church is always a great place. I always tell my single friends, they're like, I can't meet anybody, and you met Deasia, and that was in a supermarket, and I've been on a dating site, and I'm like, if you want to meet somebody, join a group in church. You don't have to join a dating site in church, but you could go to church, and trust me, you're already going to be in a group of people that believe certain things that you believe, that you have in common with in your personal relationship with Christ. So that's probably a really good thing when you're trying to meet someone. My wife is a devout Christian, and I so admire that in her, and that's so attractive to me that, we talk about God. We talk about God's role in our life, and, we're people of the Lord. So that's a great place to go. Where else can you go? I don't know, if we take our son to, some kind of daycare, in the next year when he's old enough to go. Will that be a place? And do you really get to know? So we're what about if we join a golf club? My wife doesn't really play golf, but she's the type that would go with me just to hang out with me in the cart while I played. So blah, 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 blah. It's out there, man. It's out there. But the way for the Governor Sherrills of the world, for any organization, for you as a parent, particularly for you as a husband or wife, if you put God first, if you put God as the top of the totem pole for you, everything else will kind of cascade down in the way it should. Trust God. God will definitely deliver the things that you need. We are in such an interesting part of our journey, my wife and I right now. And I have just decided, I think it's driving her a little crazy. She says, baby, what about blah, blah, blah? And I go, whatever you want, babe, just do whatever you want. And I think she's heard that out of my mouth because I know that God governs her decision-making at the end. We may, both of us, sometimes stick our nose in it, but we inevitably go back to God. And so I'm good with it because I think she's probably smarter and makes better choices than I do, number one. And then if she's putting God first, I'm for that anyway, because I realize I'm never going to make decisions as well as I would if I put God's hand on it. So that's today's show. Have a blessed day, and let's pray. Lord God, thank you for your guiding hand. And thank you, Lord, for the blessings that you provide for me and my wife. I, especially after today's show, want to thank you, Lord, so much for my wife, Deasia, so much for my beautiful princess that you allowed me to meet and have allowed me to have as my wife. And for my children, Lord, for my work, for everyone out there that watches this show, I thank you, Lord. I really do. I thank you and I praise you. I can never repay you, so I continue to try to work in your shadow so that I can pay back everything that I've gotten, everything that I've been provided for by you, the Lord Jesus Christ. Amen. So there's the prayer. I forgot to say, it's not my nature to say this, so it comes out as a struggle sometimes, but I need to say it because we need the numbers. If you can subscribe to the show, if you can hit like, if you can share the show, so that other like-minded people, because there's not a lot of people out there. We're just over the 50% mark of people that are on the right. We proved that in the election last year, and we're going to have other elections, and we have a lot of people out there that think the way we do. Not that there aren't any Democrats or people on the left that listen to the show. They do, and sometimes they write terrible things to me. Sometimes they're enlightened by certain things, and they say, yeah, that's true, but, or whatever. It doesn't matter. I don't aim at one particular group. I say what I think. I say what's in my heart, and I say things, I hope, besides the occasional swear word, in a godly way. So if you could help the show and you could subscribe, like, or share the show, it would be a great blessing. God bless you, and I'll talk to you after the weekend.